Harry continued to worry about the Dementors and Sirius Black, but he had plenty of other things to think about as well.
You've got to help Neville.
What?
Neville was wandering around on the 5th floor, and Malfoy's lot found him and locked him in the Muggle Studies classroom. And they've released a Ghoul.
Where's Hermione?
In the girls' dormitory. She's finding it easy to study up there.
Well, I suppose it's you and me then, Ron.
I solemnly swear that I'm up to no good. Welcome back to Waterparkranger, Let's Play Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. In the last episode, we basically did a lot of side quest related things. This episode, we're starting things off by having to save Neville. A little throwback to basically every Harry Potter game that came before this one. I'm pretty sure you had to save him in Sorcerer's Stone as well. Neville's always getting in trouble. Though this time wasn't entirely his fault. I mean, Malfoy and his gang are involved. Unfortunately, Trevor does not make an appearance in this game. I know everyone loves Trevor. Come to think of it, I don't know if Trevor appeared in any of the Harry Potter movies besides Sorcerer's Stone. I don't remember him in any of the others.
Did you see his Potter and Weasley?
So yeah, not so big of a surprise. A random mini-boss battle, I guess, against Malfoy and his gang. You actually do fight them all on a couple occasions throughout this game, and I appreciate the fact that you just get to kind of duel them haphazardly, rather than those forced, weird volleyball matches that you had to do in Wizard Dueling and Chamber of Secrets. I honestly prefer it this way. It's just a little bit more frantic and hectic, and the way that these battles should be. So the deal with this fight is that they have more HP and strength than, of course, the first time you fought them on the train. Yeah, I'm getting hit a lot with this pumpkin spell. Not too much I could do about that. Wow, both Ron and I got hit with the pumpkin spell. But one of the things you just want to watch out for in this room is they have a lot of glass cases. Occasionally when you shatter one, there's a dung bomb inside. That will hurt you if you hit it with Flipendo.
Go on, clear off, Malfoy. We did it! Yeah, but we've still got to save Neville from the Ghoul.
I hear the ribbiting of a chocolate frog. We're gonna have to pick that up. Good, we've recovered. And Ron took some nasty hits, so I'm gonna have him finally drink one of his Wiggenweld potions. One of his 10 Wiggenweld potions. Unlike the previous game, Chamber of Secrets. Oh, well, actually, Sorcerer's Stone technically would be the previous game, because the first one they made was Chamber of Secrets, then Sorcerer's Stone, and then this game. But unlike Chamber of Secrets, the Wiggenweld does not auto-revive you like a Phoenix Down for the Final Fantasy series. You need to manually drink the potion. And remember, the only thing productive that we learned in Snape's class, besides the fact that he's a pirate, that you can actually have different party members give the potions to each other, but they'll only do it if they're standing like right next to them. I've had it sometimes not work. It's not a perfect system. In fact, it's one of the bigger problems with this game. Right there was the 18th Stink Pellet Pot. We only have 2 more to find, if you can believe it. Then Ron's side quest will be over. And this Folio Bruti page is the 12th out of 16, I think. The Hinkypunk. You're probably wondering what all these animals like Chizpurfles and Hinkypunks are, but don't worry, we're going to find them in due time, and when we do, I'll explain what they are and what they do. If you can believe it, we're actually getting the 13th page of the Folio Bruti right here, the Ghoul. So that leaves only 3 more pages in the Folio Bruti to get. Obviously, the Ghoul page is important because we're going to be encountering a Ghoul tonight. But that's not all we're going to be encountering. We're going to find some weird enemies not in the Folio Bruti because they're just enchanted Muggle artifacts. In this case, instruments. We've got an accordion, electric guitars, and kind of reminds me of Earthbound, actually, with these possessed objects like trying to defeat you. Just like in Earthbound, the innocuous random objects that are possessed are some of the most powerful enemies in the game. If they can really saw through your HP quickly, and it seems like they can just hit you out for the other. Best way to beat them is to strafe while holding R, and with Dark Forces Flipendo, you can finish them more quickly.
Just leave me alone!
That's the Ghoul. Not much we can do about him right now, so just take control of Ron. You'll notice that Flipendo only angers it, as Neville points out. So just go over to this box and examine it as Ron.
It's okay. I'm alright. Okay then, you keep him busy.
You might have recognized that Jack-in-the-Box from what the Boggart turns into when... I forget who it is, but one of the girls, I think, faces him in the Prisoner of Azkaban movie. Now we've got some possessed robot toys, and a robot plane. Well, a toy plane. The rubber duck is especially vicious. The rubber ducks are really dangerous. I just take care of the plane last because it's, like, it's really slow to attack you. It's kind of like when you're fighting the twins in Luigi's Mansion. You need to go for the airborne one last because it's the ground-bound one that homes down you more quickly. So that's the basic strategy here. It's a really interesting concept still for me. Muggle studies, the fact that wizards study muggles as a class. It just goes to show, like, how much the wizarding world is separate and distinct from the muggle world. It's easy to take for granted. But, like, muggles live in a completely different world to them. Also, one of the interesting things is that in the Prisoner of Azkaban movie, this is not fake, actually. You can look this up if you don't believe me. They have some interesting instances of characters who, like, they're wizards, but they dabble in, like, muggle sciences. I don't know whether it's to be ironic or if they're talking about, like, doing spells on an atomic level. But there's actually a character in the Leaky Cauldron, in the Prisoner of Azkaban movie, who's reading a book by Stephen Hawking while he's, like, stirring his tea with magic. And I think that's a really cool moment, and it makes you wonder, like, what kind of spells could he be researching? So due to Ron being a klutz, we've unveiled a new enemy. This is the Hinkypunk that the Folio Bruti page warns you about if you check it out. This is one of the enemies that I hate more than pixies. There are a couple enemies in the games that I hate more than pixies, and this is definitely one of them. First time I played the game, these gave me absolute hell, because they're very finicky about how you defeat them. You gotta use the new Lumos Duo, which honestly is just a shittier version of normal Lumos from Chamber of Secrets, because at least in that game, Lumos had, like, a huge, like, remember when you fight the guy trashes in Chamber of Secrets? It's okay if you don't remember, like, but you fight these, like, dogs, they're ghost dogs in the Forbidden Forest, and you can easily beat them, because Lumos just casts, like, this huge aura of light over them, and it just disintegrates them. But no, Lumos Duo has the most limited range for a spell that's supposed to be a stronger Lumos, and you can only get it to work on these things if you target them just so. And even then, it's not necessarily guaranteed that after you ground them into solid form, you'll be able to defeat them with Flipendo. They're just so finicky about how you can defeat them. And also, I really recommend you get the Dark Forces Flipendo for fighting these enemies. So many of the enemies we're going to encounter are just so annoying unless you get Dark Forces Flipendo. It's actually easy to take for granted how much stronger Dark Forces Flipendo is. You might notice that on occasion, our Flipendo now shoots at, like, 3 times the amount of spells at once. And they all connect. Like, they all do a good amount of damage. It's just so much more useful for getting rid of enemies like this that you definitely want to finish in one go if possible. All I can tell you is that if you get burnt in this section, which is quite likely because Hinkypunks, you can tell whenever they're going to attack you because they start swinging that lantern, and their chants become a little bit different. Yeah, also, I just hate how they sound. Everything about Hinkypunks bothers me. They're just really obnoxiously programmed. But if you find yourself taking a lot of damage from these Hinkypunks, well then, that's why it's good to grind earlier with Ron to get all those beans, because he'll also just inevitably pick up a lot of Wiggenweld potions in the process. And that means you'll have plenty of opportunities to heal yourself. Now, one of the other things that Lumos Duo can do, which I admit is actually kind of cool and satisfying, is it charges up these light orbs, and then you can use them to solve mirror puzzles, because that's just a common thing in Prisoner of Azkaban. They do love their mirror puzzles. There's our handy-dandy mirror puzzle switch. Yeah, I took the liberty of turning this mirror a little closer to where it would need to be before we even activated the Lumos Duo deal. And that takes care of the Hinkypunks, fortunately. Unfortunately, we are going to meet them again later on in the game. Though that battle back there was like some of the least amount of trouble I've had with them. I've just had instances where Lumos Duo would not make them materialize, and I was fighting them for over an hour, and I couldn't get it to work. I hope we don't run into any problems with Hinkypunks like that in the game, but no guarantees. We can only see how it plays out when we get there. Now we have to fight these things in a cramped space, so that's why you need to be really good at targeting and strafing. Just run past them and then turn back to fight them. I believe you do have to clear out all these enemies, otherwise you won't get the challenge shields, and you do need those challenge shields if you're good. Oh wait, never mind. The challenge shield's right there. I guess I was just fighting them to show off. Or no, actually I was fighting them because I was absolutely ignorant that you did not have to kill them to get the challenge shield. So I guess if you really want, you could just run past these enemies and not fight them. But, I mean, they're some of the more challenging enemies, actually, and it's rewarding to use your stronger Flipendos to defeat them a little bit more easily. At least for me, it is. The combat could be better in this game, could be much better. Remember the appearance of this room. It's a room we're not going to get to visit for a while. It might look like we've been in here, but we haven't. This is a room we're not going to explore until much later on.
Ron, we need your help down here. Okay. What was that?
We have a surprise boss, a robot. I really like the fact that this game just has some unexpectedly, weird bosses. They're just so much fun to fight. So the deal with this one is that you're always better off fighting him up close, and it's much better that you get the, this is also why you want Dark Force's Expelliarmus. I think that usually your Expelliarmus won't be strong enough or have the reach enough to do the strategy that I recommend for this guy, which is to run up close to him and time it so that when he opens his stomach, the missiles that he casts go into your Expelliarmus shield, and you can deflect them right back inside of him, which does a lot of damage. I know some people that just prefer to run back and launch Flipendo at him when he opens his stomach, and that will work, but he'll take a while to go down, and besides, those missiles seem to do more damage to you the longer that they're, exposed to the air. As weird as it sounds, those missiles just get stronger the longer they're out of the robot's stomach. So if you're standing up close, you can just choose to deflect them right back in and save yourself the trouble of dying against this guy, which it's easier than you'd expect. He's one of the harder bosses, but he's already dead.
Blimey!
Cue conveniently appearing light orb and convenient camera pan. Not to mention the fact that the game even tells you, remember the spell that you got, Lumos? That makes things light up. Lumos Duo, my bad. You know, I'm just going to be probably calling it Lumos for short, because Duo makes it sound like it's better when, as we've been over this before, it's just a shittier Lumos. I don't want to give it the honor of calling it Lumos Duo like it's something special, because it's not. And unfortunately, this is the only unique spell that Ron learns in the game. And one of its few uses, besides fighting Hinkypunks and doing the mirror puzzles, is that ghouls are apparently afraid of light, so just target him and use Lumos Duo to back him into that alcove.
Now leave my friends alone! Okay, let's get back to the common room.
And that does it for the Muggle Studies dungeon portion of the game. I've always liked this part of the game, it's just so bizarre. And you know, they do give you a couple good uses for Lumos Duo. I'm mostly frustrated with it because I've had so many bad experiences trying to fight Hinkypunks with it, and it didn't work at all. Also, it's really weird. Neville follows your party as if he's a playable character, but you can't switch to him, and he does nothing but bitch at you about, how can we go now? I want to go back to the common room. What's even worse is that he's apparently, semi-holographic, because you can't hit him with Flipendo, much to my dismay. So there's that. I really can't blame Malfoy for locking him up. If it was me, I would have left him there. Neville in the games is just, so much worse than Neville in the books, and Neville in the movies. I actually like his character in those. He grows a lot.
Oh no!
We need to find her.
You'll be lucky.
What do you mean, Peeves?
Ashamed, your headship, sir, doesn't want to be seen. So I'm running for the landscape on the 4th floor. Crying something dreadful. Poor thing.
Did she say who did it?
Oh yes, Professor Head. He got very angry when she wouldn't let him in, you see. Nasty temper he's got, that Sirius Black.
And to that effect, Sir Cadogan will be standing in for the fat lady. Now, I know you're all still very worked up about what's happened, but my advice would be for you all to go to bed.
So, naturally, with a killer on the loose, and McGonagall telling us to go to bed, first thing we're going to do is run right outside the common room. Nope, there's no increased security or anything. Not even an extra prefect, no, nothing. McGonagall's, just gone. McGonagall. She puts the gon in McGonagall. Oh god, that was horrible. Now I'm thinking of McGonagall puns. I'm sure there's a few. I remember someone called her Professor McConjugal. Wise guys. So down here, yet again, I'm showing off the Pixie Room that we still can't do anything about, but one day, just a couple more days from now, actually, due to me being able to upload these with increased frequency, which is really quite handy. What I'm going to do is unleash the power of Lumos Duo. I said I'd call it just normal Lumos, but I'm finding myself calling it Lumos Duo. Unleash the power of Lumos Duo on this heat transfer orb of science to light it up and reveal a cleverly hidden, well, panel. It's not that cleverly hidden at all. If you try to investigate it with Ron earlier, he won't be able to do anything about it. There are just panels like that that need other ways to slide them, and in this case, it's Lumos that actually reveals the location of this card. The third of the 5 vampire cards, Blodwyn Bludd. Good name for a vampire, if not a little overdone and obvious. But I mean, that's what makes vampires more enjoyable, I feel. Not such a vampire person myself, never could get into Twilight. I tend to like pirates because they go on adventures and they don't just brood and have shining skin. Although, I probably mentioned this in an earlier video, but for those who don't know, Robert Pattinson is actually a hilarious guy. He also played Cedric Diggory in Goblet of Fire, the movie, yeah. Which I watched again recently, and found it a lot better than I remembered, honestly. I guess just because Prisoner of Azkaban was so well done, I felt that Goblet of Fire was, like, more rushed, and it is in some ways, because, like, Prisoner of Azkaban is a very artfully crafted film, and Goblet of Fire just doesn't have that same level of care. But it's still a great movie. There's just some amazing acting in it as well. Like, I totally forgot how crazy Barty Crouch Jr. was, and Barty Crouch Sr. as well, like, both of their characters. Easy to forget, but if you watch that movie again, like, as well as Mad-Eye Moody, I mean, everyone knows the plot twist involving him in that movie, but it was really great. So earlier in this episode, we had checked the notice board so that you could pick up that potions kit. Now we're going to go get the Dragonhide gloves. These are on the 3rd floor for Defense Against the Dark Arts, so I just cut down to the 3rd floor. Not sure if we've snuck past this guy before. He's very simple. You just go to this bookcase, wait for him to pass, and then run. He's just an awful prefect. They really got so much dumber after Chamber of Secrets. But then again, I guess it can't be their fault, because there's new prefects every year, and it must just be the new prefects that are really bad at their job. Which in some ways, I suppose, a student who breaks all the rules really has to appreciate lax prefects. But then again, it does take some of the challenge and tension out of it, which is kind of a no-no. I appreciated how tense the prefect segments were in Chamber of Secrets. Only in retrospect, though. I found them really annoying at the time, but looking back at them, I'm glad they were in the game. It's so weird that there's stealth sections in Harry Potter, but they really managed to make it work. So, cutting back, we're just going to hand off these house points, and that's all we're going to do for tonight. Until next time, this is Mischief Managed.